How we doing, Kerbal? All right, so this is what, our third or fourth how-to video, and today I'm taking you to Minmus and back. Minmus, of course, in Kerbal Space Program is Kerbal's second moon, okay? Last time we went to the Mun, this time we're going to Minmus, and the reason I'm going to demonstrate this is because getting to Minmus is a little bit different than getting to the Mun, so we're going to be using what we used to get to the Mun, the strategy, and the strategy we used to rendezvous in our previous video to get to the Mun and back, all right? I'm gonna launch them, I'm gonna talk about some more things. Let's do this. So our arcing right on that 90-degree line, so we get that gravity assist, or I keep calling it gravity assist, it's more like rotation assist. Wait for our liquid boosters to deplete, to jettison those. They're away. And again, arc over just a little bit more, but not too much, because again, we're kind of top heavy with this lander on top. Once we get to about 9,000 feet AGL, turn to sea level. Then we can start arcing even more. Let's go ahead and switch over to orbit and wait for about 9 to 10,000. I said feet, I think it's meters. Yeah, meters. And now click prograde to let the computer do the hard work for you. Okay. All right, so this is basically the same rocket we used to get to the Mun because we had plenty of leftover fuel last time. Getting to Minmus doesn't require that much more fuel, just a little bit. So if you followed along in the getting to the Mun episode or video, then you can just use the same rocket. All right, let's go ahead and start arcing over completely horizontal since our apogee is getting close to 70,000, which is the Kármán line, or Kármán line. There we go. Almost depleting our first stage booster. It's away, and we'll do a little bit more of the second stage. We'll let that burn to about 80,000 meters apoapsis, okay? So, Private Division, or Intercept Games, I guess, are the developers. They have recently released their first major patch of this game since it went out into early access a few weeks ago. And it's overall very, very positive, very helpful. A lot of bugs are now no longer a thing. However, I did a practice run to Minmus just to see what kind of bugs I would still encounter. Propellant off. And we'll coast up to our apoapsis here. I did a test run, and there's still a couple bugs we'll run into, and when we get to those, I'll kind of explain workarounds. Go to map view, M key, and you can coast up to, with these weaker twin vacuum engines, you kind of want to get a little bit of a head start before you reach your apogee. When you start burning for a second time to complete this orbit. All right, keeping on prograde here, and throttle up. Let's go ahead and tell you right now that one of the bugs you'll encounter now since the patch went out is if you hit F2 to get rid of your HUD. Now the timeline, the time warp bar still remains. So if you want to take your screenshots, that's going to be in the way. You can always just zoom out a bit and crop those out if you're doing things like thumbnails or whatever. That's just a minor bug, not a big deal. But there is a bigger bug we'll encounter when we're leaving Minmus. I'll show you a workaround. Up on our cutoff here. Stand by for the X key. Here we go. We have a complete orbit. All right. So next thing you want to do is you want to target the Minmus. You have to zoom out a bit. Go ahead and do that. Right click, set as target. Now, just like in our previous video with rendezvousing, what you want to look for are these degrees. I think I kept calling them percentages last time. Whatever. I hate speaking on these videos when I'm just kind of winging it. My brain goes in all different directions, but you want to look for these degree icons. Now, we already passed this one here. All right, we're going this way. So the next one we encounter is going to be on the opposite side. Go ahead and left click on it. Create a maneuver plan. Click on it again and pull down on it. Oh, yep, pull down on it to bring it to 0 degrees. Keep on cruising. All right, looks like 0.3 degrees is the best we're going to get, but this is a little bit different from KSP1. I don't know. I never tried this in KSP1, but I figured this out with KSP2 just messing around. If you click on this, come on, click on it. There it is. And you move it. You can get it pretty close, even closer to 0. Do that, and then try pulling down again. Actually, well, does that work? Yeah. Just mess around with it. Grab it again. See if you can get it to 0. There it is. Boom, 0. I mean, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 degrees isn't really going to matter, but if you're a perfectionist, that's just something you can do. And again, just like in our previous episode or video, you can always make that burn and then redo the entire process to get it all the way to 0 if you want. Time warp to this maneuver. Click on maneuver button down here. That'll point your rocket in the direction it needs to go, which should be down. Yep, pointing down. Because we need to get on the same plane as Minmus. That's why we're doing this. So when we went to the Mun, you can see that its orbit is on the same plane, or it's on the equator. It's an equatorial orbit. It's on the equator. But Minmus, though, it's slanted. It's on a different plane. So we just need to even up our trajectory, our orbit, on the same plane as Minmus. We need to tilt it. So that's what we're doing. And I just missed our our burn time. That's all right. It probably won't be perfect now, but it should be close enough. See how our orbit is tilting now. Keep going, keep going. And we're at negative 0.1 degrees. Make sure you keep an eye after you do these burns, these tilt burns I call them, on your apoapsis and your perigee, because sometimes your perigee can be below the Kármán line, which was, again, 70,000 meters. And if that's the case, you're going to want to do a prograde burn at your apogee to raise that so you don't go into the atmosphere and screw up your next plan, okay, which is to do a burn for an injection burn for Minmus. Minmus is heading this way, all right, so we want to intercept it just like we did with the Mun. So we'll probably want to burn, I don't know, around here. Just click somewhere on the orbit and click on it again. And now this is when we prograde. Just bring the prograde up to Minmus's orbit. And this is one change they did with the patches. This maneuver plan is more streamlined. The lines here aren't as thick. It's more clean. It's easier to handle. So that's very much appreciated. So once you get to the line, just kind of move it around, see where it needs to be till you intercept with Minmus. We're not quite there yet. A little bit more. There we go. And right there we have interception. And you can kind of perfect it by pulling back a bit, but this is pretty much as good as it's gonna get. You want these dots to be as close together as possible so you're not wasting as much fuel. Because again, you want to intercept it at your apogee. That's when you're going your slowest. So we're gonna intercept, or we're gonna enter our burn time in about 11 minutes and 45 seconds. We're gonna burn for 1 minute and 12 seconds. And this green check mark means we have enough propellant with our current fuel tank to make this happen. Again, hit maneuver node. And this time I'll pay attention to the beeps. We're going to be flying right over the Kerbal Space Center as we get out of here. So right here. And our apoapsis is raising. This is where it should end up by the time this burn timer reaches 0. What's nice in Kerbal Space Program 2 is you can speed this up even as you're burning. Couldn't do that in the previous game. Ready to cut it? And I like to cut it just a little bit before, like a split second before, because I just don't want to go over. And you can just use, you can delete that now. And look, actually we did intercept, so we didn't waste as much fuel. But if we didn't hit the encounter because we didn't burn long enough, just hit the shift key to barely bring up your speed to reach it. But we're good. All right. So now we just coast to our intercept. We're gonna take it to about right here. There goes Kerbin. There goes the Mun. Celestial. Let's see if we can find Minmus. Are we close enough to see Minmus? Yep, it's right there. You can barely see it. Actually, I'm going to take this to chase. Let's go back to flight view. And let's keep an eye on Minmus as we get closer to it. It should tell us when we intercept with its gravity. There we go. Ba 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 ba. All right, so now you can set. Now that we're in Minmus's gravity, you can set up a maneuver plan at the periapse here, and all you're going to do is just slow down. Prograde, pull that prograde node here, slow down, bring that in to whatever altitude you want. For Minmus, it's a small moon. The gravity is not very strong, so I usually bring it in. In KSP1, I would bring it into like 10,000 meters. But 15,000, under 15,000, you're not going to be able to time warp very fast. So I'm going to take it to about 20. That way we can at least time warp if we need to. You can hit maneuver node if you want, or you can just hit prograde, or I'm sorry, retrograde. Retrograde is the burn you want to do, not prograde. We burned a little bit too much. As you can see, just delete this to clear it up a little bit. We are going to fall directly onto Minmus if we do this. So what we can do is just turn our RCS on, and since we're already facing backwards, we'll just hit backwards on our RCS, and we can raise this up a bit. Now this is using our monopropellant, but that's right, we should have plenty. And we're just gonna bring, or another thing you can do is you can just hit prograde. All right, we'll hit prograde. And I don't know why this thing is going crazy. Hold on a sec. Did we encounter another bug? No, it's getting there. Okay, we're good. Prograde, and just barely tap the. There we go. That's good. Let's tap the accelerator, the gas pedal, and time warp to the other side of Minmus. The dark side of Minmus. All right. Now, retrograde, because again, we want to even up our orbit, circularize it. It's an eclipse right now. We want to bring our apoapsis down just like we did when we were circularizing our orbit around the Mun. Get this a little bit closer. I'm not going to set up a maneuver node for this one. It's easy. Just hit retrograde right here and take it down all the way to your periapse. This thing keeps jumping around on me. All right, that's close enough. And throttle up. I wouldn't throttle all the way up, it might go too fast. And boom. Good enough. All right, now you just need to pick where you want to land your lander. I think we'll do ours maybe right around here on this cliff edge. That'd be pretty sweet. Maybe we'll get a kind of a Kerbin rise, although it should look kind of small at this distance. So we'll just manually time zoom. We're going to jettison our second stage. We don't need it, no moss. We're still retrograde. We want our landing legs pointed down while we're landing. That's very important. So we're just going to keep it this way. We can go ahead and switch this to surface, get out ahead of it. And I think Minmus is still targeted. Yeah, Minmus is still targeted. So we can untarget Minmus before we forget. Clear target. But yeah, keep this on surface. You want to do ground level, not sea level, because there are no seas, and seas is just the average basically. I don't know, maybe it counts that as the seas because that might be like the lowest point, but we don't know for sure. So just keep it on ground. Most of the time you want it on AGL, not MSL. See where we're at in our orbit. Yeah, we got some ways to go here. All right, that's pretty good. Landing gear down. And start up our, I guess this would be our third stage engine, our landing engine. Make sure your throttle is all the way down though. There we go. You don't want to burn yet. Yeah, we'll burn in about, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. Again, Minmus is a very tiny moon, so there's not much gravity. It's not going to fight it's not going to fight you very hard, your lander very hard, all right? It's not going to be pulling you down so much, so you won't be using too much propellant for this. We'll turn on RCS to help us out when we get closer to the surface. Let it bring us down. Once we drop below 15,000 meters sea level, that's when our timeline will slow down automatically. Watch this. That's why you kind of want to keep your orbit above 15,000 meters, otherwise it'll take forever to get where you want to go. Let's see. Switch it back over to ground. Let's aim for this little mountain ridge, right? That maybe we'll have a great view of that sea there. All right, so what we're gonna do to do this, and I don't mean to make this video more complicated than it needs to be, but you should know by now if you've been watching my videos how to do a landing. Again, make sure you're retrograde. If you're just gonna go straight to a landing, and just keep an eye on your surface speed and your ground altitude, all right? But I'm gonna turn this off, just stabilize it, and I'm gonna turn on my RCS, which is the R key, and I'm going to point it in that direction. That's the roll key, there we go. Too much. And I'm gonna throttle up a bit. RCS off. All right, retrograde. See where this takes us. All right, we're pretty close. Let's try to land about right here. Again, RCS on, stabilize, throttle up, slow us down. Bring us close to 0 at this point. Aim us a little bit to the left there. Throttle up. Throttle down. That's probably too much. RCS off. Retrograde. And Throttle up. All right, let's see where that takes us. Again, make sure this stays on surface, otherwise if it's on orbit, you're gonna be pointing in the wrong direction. All right, so let's throttle up a little bit more. RCS on, stabilize. Hard to do this, there we go. It's a little sloped right here, so what we're going to do is we're just going to stabilize. It's already there. RCS on. We're just going to bring it over there a little bit. Retrograde. Yeah, this is where we're going to land it, right here. Our retrograde turned off, so we want to come in as vertical as we possibly can. That was my mistake. I didn't do that. Whoops. So we'll get a little bit of altitude. Here we go. There, now we're coming down basically straight down. That way when our retrograde does turn off automatically, at least we won't be coming in at an angle. Wrong key. Minmus's gravity is so weak that you can basically use your RCS thrusters like I just did to land this thing nice and softly. All right, so there we go. We landed on our little cliff edge here. We got a nice view of the sea, the dry lake bed, I guess, and a mountain range, a mountain. Cool. Okay, so we don't need to worry about our electrical charge dropping yet because in early access, it's not a thing yet. So just right click on your ladder. Hopefully you installed one. If not, it doesn't really matter. You'll be able to get back in your pod. Again, there's not much gravity. Eject your Kerbal. Eject, Jeb. An obstacle is in the way. What obstacle is in the way? There's no obstacle in the way. Jeb, is your fat helmet in the way, dude? That's a bug. All right, there we go. All I had to do was like quit the game and come back in, and that fixed that bug. There we go. Let's get the horizon view. So we got Jeb out. F key to get on the ladder. Space bar to release. And congratulations, Jeb. Put that flag down, brah. Jeb was her. Yay. Yay. Cool. Derp. One eye's bigger than the other. I never noticed that before. Jeb. Derp Jeb. So this is how much or how little there is gravity here on Minmus. Jump. You could definitely slam dunk a basketball on Minmus. No problem. You can also bring out your jetpack here. go exploring. If that's your thing. Back to the ladder, F key, climb up, F key again, board, D key. Okay, so now I want to show you how you can get back to Kerbin, wherever Kerbin is. It's somewhere up there in the sky. Now when you leave Minmus, like the moon, I always like to aim for the 90-degree line. You don't have to, but it just makes things easier, less complicated, especially when I'm trying to teach things. So RCS on, and then just slowly throttle up, because there's even less, again, there's less gravity on Minmus than there is the Mun, so it'll really take you off if you just go full throttle. RCS, shift key, start aiming for that 90-degree line. Oh, RCS, come on, where are you, RCS? I can't, actually, my controls aren't working at all, so there's another bug. Load game. Let's go back. Get back in there, Jeb. Deja vu. Turn on RCS and make sure this is working first. All right, it's working. Okay, let's try it again. RCS, shift key, 90-degree line. Basically go horizontal right away, especially if you're up on a mountain range with very little to hit. Then you can throttle up a little bit more. RCS can go off. Keep it on your apoapsis here. Once it gets to about 20,000 meters, you can cut the engine. All right. We should be on our way to orbit. You can fast forward again, because we're under 15,000 meters. This is as fast as you can go, so it's just a waiting game now. Okay, we're coming up on the 15,000 meter line here. You want to be careful because, again, with the bugs, I have encountered bugs here where, I'll slow this down. We're going to turn off the SAS and we're going to turn this to orbit. Your craft could go crazy around the 15,000 meter line and just start doing rapid spins. So if that happens, just be aware that's a bug. And there might be ways to overcome it. If that happens, I might not get the opportunity to explain it. Nope. Looks like we're safe this time. Basically, if your vehicle starts spinning out of control, just turn off SAS, turn it back on, hit prograde, turn on RCS, turn it off, just do that kind of stuff. Hit orbit, hit surface until it either stops or doesn't stop and you have to revert back to the takeoff off of Minmus again. We can go a little bit faster now that we're above 15,000. Prograde and circularize this orbit. Actually, you have to get to making it a complete orbit, so let's do that. No maneuver node needed. Keep an eye on your periapsis down here. That's pretty close to circularized. All right. Now we need to get back to Kerbin. Now, since we left Minmus at the 90-degree line, we're at an equatorial orbit pretty much. And again, Kerbin is on a different plane. But you don't need to do what you did to get to Minmus to get back to Kerbin, all right? And this is another bug where these things are just moving. So just click, you know, anywhere on the line. I usually click down this way. Click on your maneuver node. Prograde to leave Minmus's gravity and intercept with Kerbin's. All right, we've intercepted. Just keep prograding until your periaps comes close. Well, we're not in the right spot, so just click on your maneuver node and just move it around until you see a periaps come close to Kerbin. There's our closest point right there. Right click, keep it up, keep prograding. Keep prograding. Oh, we just hit the moon's gravity, the Mun's gravity, but that's fine. We went through it, and we just hit the Mun's gravity again. This just might be bad timing. The Mun might be getting in our way. Yeah, we're slamming into the mun right now. It's intercepting us. So the easiest way to fix that is just do some laps. Get the mun and just wait it out. You can even raise your orbit a little bit more as you're waiting. See if the mun gets in our way again. Nope, we're good. All right, so right now if we were just to keep this maneuver plan as is, we would slam right into Kerbin directly. In this game, that's fine to do right now in early access because they don't have like the heat buildup, the atmospheric reentry heat as a thing yet, so it won't like explode your capsule. But just for good practice, I like to bring this in. For our small dinky capsule, we don't have a lot of mass. We can easily bring this into like 30, 40,000 meters, so we'll do that. All right, that's fine right there. But we're probably, most likely from the practice I've done, we're probably going to encounter another bug after we do this burn, so we'll probably have to do another burn anyway. Make sure you hit your maneuver node as you're making your way to that maneuver plan you just did. All right, so we're good. We shut our engine off. We just let it go, and we fast forward. We should end up at 36,000 meters above the surface of Kerbin, which will bring us in such a dense part of the atmosphere. It will capture us. It will bring our apoapsis down to basically zero, so we will be not escaping Kerbin's gravity, even Kerbin's atmosphere, and we will splash down. However, I think we're about to encounter a bug in the game. So say goodbye to Kerbin, or I'm sorry, Minmus. And once we leave Minmus's gravity, it will probably alter our trajectory, our orbit. So we'll enter orbit around the sun, okay? I'll show you what you can do to fix that. All right. Yeah, so we just left Minmus's gravity, and we were supposed to fall back to Kerbin, but now look. Now we're in orbit around the sun. What you can do to fix this is go retrograde, okay? And just burn retrograde until your periapsis is back around Kerbin, all right, which is over here. Intercepting with the moon again, the mun. Too much, RCS, delete key, E key, nope, Q key. There, that's good. All right, now we're good. RCS back off. Again, I use the RCS. You could have just gone prograde and used RCS that way and did it opposite, or you could hit prograde and use your thrust. Doesn't matter. I just went too far, so I just had to speed our ship back up a little bit. Okay, now if we time warp to this point right here, we should be by Kerbin. We can get rid of our second stage, or our landing stage, I guess. We can turn off SAS and time warp. Now, if atmospheric reentry heating was turned on, we'd be cooking like a marshmallow right now because we came in at such a steep angle from such a high altitude. But again, our capsule isn't that heavy. There's not that much mass. So it's not like it would explode our vehicle anyway. We got this heat shield on there, so. But if you have like a huge capsule or a huge ship you're bringing in from that altitude, from the altitude of Minmus, you're going to want to dip in to the Kerbin's atmosphere at a less steep angle to kind of skim the atmosphere first to ablate a lot of that momentum, so you don't build up as much heat. See if this thing's gonna splash down actually on the surface, or is it gonna be above the surface again? Oh, above the surface still. They haven't fixed that bug yet, and we're still under the surface. All right, guys, it's gonna wrap this one up. I hope it helped. Good luck to you in your future endeavors. Until next time, Godspeed.